to the Dius Podcast. I'm your boy, Big Daddy Bears, and
Damisi.
I'm Josh.
anyways, on today's episode, we're going to be asking serious question. Do you think government should interfere with content creation? I mean, we've seen so many places where government always feels that, oh no, I should have a hand in how people create content, to safeguard people's lives, or even for other ulterior motives.
Yep.
So today we're going to be asking ourselves, do we think that's right? Do we think government has like sincere notions, or something else that means? So opening the floor, I would like Damisi to try and give context of a little bit of, for example, what is happening back in Nigeria with how recently government has risen to how they say, okay, you guys, content creators, are doing so much stuff and they want to be involved. Now, is it for the good? Is it for the bad? Or is it just completely bonkers? Damisi.
Yeah, man. So this topic came up because the Lagos government decided that all content creators should register themselves, and obviously they're going to drop a particular percentage of content creation for they probably have to drop something for their merchandise and stuff, and it was just so it just didn't
So weird.
it just felt weird for this particular one. It felt like it was just like a money grab, and from the Lagos government. But we don't really want to focus on that. We want to focus on if the government was actually doing the right thing. Is that actually the right way to go about it? Interfering with creators.
That's a good point.
Okay, so I think I want to compare that to what is happening in China. Do you think that there are similarities, or do you think there are two different ball games?
So it's different because what's happening in China is more part of the general plan of the government to control the people and by extension control the planet. Because you have to remember that the Chinese government, they're not playing around. These guys want complete control. They're not playing around. They've got their hands all over Africa, right?
Yeah.
And no one's saying anything. No one's people are just taking it easy. But very soon they'll control Africa the same way the colonials did, right? They will control the resources. They will have all the serious money and the best talent, and that's going to be an issue later on. But anyway, that I digress. But point is, the difference with the Nigerian government just seems to be more like a misguided money grab. Because of course, unfortunately, all these content creators aren't very smart people. In that they talk too much, they boast too much. You don't spread money around. And of course, when you're running around Lagos going, haha, look at me, I've got more money than politicians. Haha, Google's paying me in dollars. Haha, look at my money. The government's going to go, right, let's get a piece of that. It's understandable.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's just what's happening here.
Okay, so then you are saying that with China happening, how China is controlling content in China, do you think in the long run, for example, I remember on some cases of some last episode, right? We talked about how Google is trying to control get so much people's data. Do you think now, with reference to how China has been able to control so much of the content that's coming through them to their people, do you think they've been able to ward off Google from the Chinese public and then kind of made them safe?
No, not at all. It's not even a question, because it's like, who's worse, them or the Google or the Chinese government?
Let me see who is worse, China or Google?
China, by leaps and
China,
bounds, bro. See, Google's bad, but at the very least, you know Google's doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Sure, they can be a bit.
China's just doing it for domination.
These guys want America's spot. That's it. Everything they do is to get America's spot as the world's police, the world's daddy, essentially. And once they get that spot, they are not letting it go. And if they have to do whatever it takes to keep it, they will. Right? That's standard. That's on one side.
Okay.
Google is just
All
right, go on.
Okay. Sorry. I thought you were done.
Google is just an ad company looking to optimize their revenue. That's it. And which means they have no respect for privacy as long as it means more revenue for them. So for as long as there's a way to violate your privacy in a profitable way to Google, they're going to do it. That's the one thing you can guarantee from Google is if there's a way to use your data to make money, they will do it. That's it.
Yeah. So I think we just highlight this now that Josh is not a very Google friendly person.
Obviously.
Let's just highlight that now.
So
So
I think we
now,
heard that from
yeah,
last
yeah. So, but then again, that being said, China also does the same kind of thing with your data. But I think now, if you go down that line, that begins to bring us on that conversation on
Yep.
China and your data. Now let's go back to the initial content. So, what about the use case where most people in the government can say, "Oh, we're trying to moderate what children see, who corrupt, want to make sure only morally good media gets into the space. People are not corrupted by what they see." Don't you think that has a good case? Don't you guys think that is probably like a good reason why they do what they do?
No.
So
Absolutely not.
that's the popular line that all of them have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going from that line, but the major problem is this, right? People are not, I don't know, are not perfect. So once we have somebody
Yeah.
in charge of somebody else, you just you're not safe. You're not safe when anybody is in charge of you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just have to like be able to take your own life in your hands like that. I don't know.
Yeah, Mount. Oh, wait, we lost Reuben for a sec.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wait a second to see if we can get Reuben back because he's driving.
All right. When I cut you off, I lost myself for a second there.
All right.
Lost my train of
Okay, yeah, Reuben, sorry, we lost you for a sec. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Right, okay,
My
so-
internet went down and it came back up.
All right, fair enough. That's fine. So yeah, what I was saying, what I was going to follow up on Damisi's point was, Damisi said you can't trust people, which makes sense because government, the government, the term government is technically propaganda. Let me explain why. See, when you talk about
I like
government,
this.
you're talking people, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you say government's money, you're saying our money, our tax money. There's no government's money; it's our tax money. The government doesn't have a company that makes revenue. It's our money. They pretty much put a gun to our heads, right? Pay 10%, 30%, 40%, whatever the
Whatever
rate
it
is.
is, yeah.
You don't pay,
Yeah.
you go to jail. So it's forcefully taken from you. It's our money, right? so when people say the government, it's just people. What's the government? It's people,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
a group of people in a room saying, okay, so what do we do about this?
Like everybody just putting their money in one pool to just do something for us.
Thank
Right.
you.
Okay.
And when it comes to trusting them or not trusting them, you have to remember that a lot of times people in the government can be very incompetent, especially because they tend to take on more than they can chew. So
Yeah.
you've got a guy who, because he's president of this or governor of that or councillor of this, he assumes he knows everything and can do everything. Maybe he has a degree in sociology and he's just very charismatic and that's how he got voted into power. Now he wants to make he wants a voice when it comes to the cryptocurrency. I'm like, bro, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to back off from that.
Yeah.
Now they want to talk about privacy laws and these people don't actually know. And there was and this isn't just a Nigerian problem because there was a funny YouTube channel that how do I put it? There's funny YouTube channel. Well, there's YouTube channel more political, so I wouldn't, of course, talk about them here. But one thing they did was really funny. Is they went to the EU because in the EU you can sit in on some of their sessions in the parliamentary sessions in the EU, right? Like as an EU citizen, you have the right to sit in. So they actually plan to sit in some of the parliamentary sessions, and guess what they found out? A lot of these members of the EU Parliament, I forget what they're called now, the MPs, the MPs, a lot of them don't actually read the bills they pass. So they have these aides and assistants that give them like stacks of paper just to sign. So these guys are being paid a ton of money to read through these bills and go, right, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And some aide just says, okay, sign these, sign that. And this guy's like, sign, and goes off to lunch and play golf with his buddies. Right? So that's how these guys it's hilarious. It's too much.
Most of the time they don't even care. When this government, like senators and everything, they don't really care about what exactly is happening. What they want is their own piece of the pie. How they can get their own piece.
A lot of these guys are untouchable. You have to remember this. Like I don't think people talk about this enough. A lot of these people are untouchable. What that means is that in their minds, Why should they care about your family? Their family is fine. Why should they care about your roads? Their family is in Britain, spending the fruits of their labor. Why do they care about your family?
Yeah, that's the
It's
middle
like
thing. Like,
it's funny because I was and of course not to get too political again, but I
yeah,
was talking to a friend once who was complaining about Nigerian universities and saying Nigerian universities are terrible, they're this, they're that, they're not good, they're bad. It was going on and on. I said, look, all it would take for Nigerian universities and hospitals to change overnight is if no politicians could go abroad, could send their kids abroad for education or go for treatment abroad when they needed it bad.
straight up,
Oh my dude, overnight you're going to see things change. You're going to start seeing the
straight up.
money rediverted. But that's the problem, right? And no one is talking about
Yeah,
this because we're expecting some savior to just descend on the country and just magically fix all the bad stuff. How's that gonna happen? It's like because it's
uh,
one thing to just sit around hoping blindly, but it's another thing to actually analyze the problem because you can't solve a
yeah,
problem you don't understand. So
yeah,
the fundamental problem is we can't trust governments. You're not supposed to trust governments. In the same
yeah,
way, you're
yeah.
not supposed to trust your boss. You're not supposed to trust, a random stranger on the streets. Because how many people grew up with the people in power? No one. Did you grow up with the president? No. How can I trust the
No.
president? I'm in the UK now. I don't trust the
Hmm.
prime minister. I don't know him. He's a stranger to me.
Hmm.
So why would I want someone I don't know, someone who doesn't have the qualifications on paper? Why would I want that guy determining what
To
I
be
can
running,
or can't create?
cannot do.
That is a violation of freedom of speech. Because if I can't create content I want to create, then how am I free?
Yeah.
How am I a free person?
The content creation should be in the hands of the people. It should be the people themselves
Thank
that
you.
decide what content creators actually create. If the people don't want it, then the content doesn't get created, or it gets created and doesn't get watched or used or anything like that. But when you have a government being in charge of stuff like that, that's when you have countries like, I'm not shitting on any of these countries, but like China and Japan, where you have media that is not.
They're
So
plastic. They're,
like,
they're owned by the government.
yeah,
And
because
do you know what gets
yeah,
worse?
okay.
Sorry. Do you know
Hmm.
how it gets worse? See, the moment you give the government keys to your content creators, you've given them permission to create the most indispensable propaganda machine. Check every country where the government controls the media. It's full on propaganda all day, every day,
Yeah.
right? Which means you're setting the stage for a particular government to stay in power for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because if they
yeah,
control what people hear, they control what the young people
yeah.
think. So the only people who would remember what life was like before XYZ took power are too old to do anything about it. But are these 60-year-olds going to march on our behalf? Are they going to go stand and pull the president out of his place? No, that's where the young people come in. You look at all the protests where it's led to the leader of a country resigning. It's usually the young people who can afford to go out and fight and go, yeah, no, we're going to take on the police. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're crazy enough. No 60-year-old is doing that. Of course, some will be there, but like, most 60-year-olds are
Yeah.
at home going, fine, dude, I'm almost done anyway. Let's just chill, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what,
And,
what? Go on,
and when
Damisi.
the government like affects all this kind of like information, you see like in US where you have issues, you have racism issues everywhere.
Yep.
That's not new. But like in US, you see the young white people not understanding the fact that the blacks really in America are really being oppressed. So some of them, before this the whole George Floyd thing came about and really blew up, it just seemed like it was some to some of them it felt like crybaby. Everybody was just crying wolf. Again, and that was the way the media painted some of these things. And I'm actually like guilty of this too. Like when I watch media, you see a group of people outside, maybe protesting or anything. When some white guys were protesting, it turned out to be just expressing their rights and they want to do this. But then when it was black people, it was hooligans. It's
Yeah, but
hooligans
I
this.
mean, even on that one, there's even some stuff to unpack there as well. Because when people talk about why black people aren't taken seriously in certain scenarios, we
Mhm.
can't just skip past black culture. Because black culture is responsible for a lot of these things. So you take white culture, right? there's a hierarchy that no one messes with, right? So hard work is respected. A person gets a job as a cleaner and he's doing that for 20 years. He can easily get a wife, raise a family. Maybe they're not going to be rich or well off or anything, but a working class white family, it's not a unique thing. There are many working class white families. They have that pride in themselves, like, hey, my dad is doing decent work. In
Yeah.
lots of black families, that's a problem. It's like, God forbid, I can't do this, I can't do that. So we prioritize money at all costs. So we put people in front of us that don't deserve to be there. So you're talking rappers. When you look at leaders in the black community, you're not talking physicists, you're not talking biologists, you're not talking, well-educated,
Yeah,
well-spoken
they don't draw
intellectuals.
respect.
Nope. You're talking rappers, basketballers, footballers, people who aren't educated enough to talk about any social issues
Yeah.
and always take the emotional high ground because they're all doing it for PR. So they would say, of course, look, when you look at the BLM movement, for example, my initial problem with it is it ignores black culture. See, I cannot blame a white person who's walking home at 10 p.m., who's walking down the street, and there's 5 black dudes in hoodies hanging around on the street. I can't blame that guy for crossing the street. I would cross the street as well.
Bro, I'll cross. Even if I see white guys, I'll cross.
No, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, but the thing is, no one talks about all the muggings that black people do. No one talks about all the stabbings. No one talks about all the rapes.
Okay, guys.
Although, Reuben, before you go,
I'm just saying.
Before you say anything, it has happened because of the past. Because
Yeah,
of
but
systematic
that
racism
no,
has
see,
caused
no,
some
no,
of
no.
these
See,
things.
Damisi, the issue there again is when you're going back in time, you have to be careful because you need starting points with these things, and you can never start early enough. And this is the problem. So we need to look forward, not back. My question is this: to fix the respect issue the black community faces and has before we even go into anything else, yeah, we have to ask ourselves the fundamental questions. Why is it that we respect the wrong things? No one respects process. Building a business up for 20 years. No, people say, that's too slow. They want to become DJs and rappers so they can become millionaires within 6 months. I'm serious. Like, that's the thing. So you look at black community leaders, they're all the same. Rappers, footballers, basketballers. Why is a footballer who dropped out of high school to go to Monaco or to go to Manchester or to go to London to kick a ball around for 90 minutes for the best part of 10 years? Why is that guy lecturing me on any social issues?
So if you say that, I agree with you. But then it's not only the black people. It's also, I think it's really about the teenage population. So that young population, they kind of feel that way. And then the major issue is like the black community, and this is what all you said is not just unique to the Americas. It's prevalent in Africa too. But then the thing is the people in power in the US, for example, are not black. The people in power are mostly the white guys, right? Those are the ones that talk to the.
Let me stop you there, Damsi. Just a brief section, because that's another interesting point raised, and that's a myth that many people do not realize, that in a lot of black dominated areas in America, all the people with power, they are black. All the politicians they have are black. Their mayors are black. Their governors are black. But no one knows them. See, they silently stay in the shadows, conducting their corruption, not moving the black community's case forward. And what they'll do is they'll just come out and say,
everywhere.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter. We stand with you. And then they send them off to go protest, and then they go back into their mansions and they're counting their money. People forget that black people do have power in America. This isn't a matter of, oh no, because it's easy to go to a place where it's 90% white and say, oh, where's the black governors? Why would there be black governors? It's a 90% white place. Go to Chicago, places like that, where there are densely populated black communities there, and you're going to see all the people that get voted into office are black.
Guys. I mean, this is getting out of scope. Do you get
Of course.
Get out of scope. So I feel like, but then again, this is pretty interesting because in that question that I've not said anything. Josh, may have had a question, and I share most of the views you have. So I feel like maybe moving forward, we might have to create a different episode for this. Maybe we could call it Black Lives Matter. Of course, it do matter, but it's more like a rhetorical
Yeah,
question.
of
So
course. Yeah,
let's
it's
get
fine.
back.
Let's
to
go back.
the
Let's go back on
issues
track. Go back on
at
track.
hand.
Go
Yeah.
back
So
on track.
let's come back. Yeah, let's come back on track. So I think based on the earlier things what we said, I think I was gonna say earlier that do you think maybe it's also a case of, because now government is not an institution. For example, now if you work at a startup, right, and if you work at a good innovation based company, right, the best way to rise above through the ranks is through merit, right?
Yep.
Be the best, provide value, just be helping and be going. Now, do you think that maybe because government is not an institution where it's based on merit, it's based, there's so many things politicians get to do, and then maybe because the fact that politicians themselves are, by their innate nature, are not worried about creating value, offering value. Is that why you think? Do you think that has to play in why they suck so much at interfering with content or creating laws like things like that, trying to stop other people who are from creating value from creating value?
Yeah, I think that's partially that has to do with the problem partially, but I think a bigger factor there is the fact that lobbyists, I think, you have to remember that government is just people, which means if I know these people, I can talk them to doing stuff. So let me give an example. If a woman runs for governor and enters office, no one looks at her husband. I didn't vote her husband into power, but now he has power.
Yeah.
So her husband has her ear. So if her husband says, my wife, I've always wanted to, do this thing for children, push it through for me. So now the governor has taken, no, I'm serious, she's taking orders to push something through, and vice versa as well. So a man enters into office. I didn't vote for his wife. I voted for him. Now, if his wife has some dodgy ideas, and she's telling that to him every night, saying we should do this, we should clamp down on developers. They're making too much money. Let's cap their salaries at 100K per month.
Maybe she had one X.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, if that's the case, because there's so many interest groups in government that talk to politicians all day, every day. And don't forget, money in government is also a problem, right? There are people who come into government with a lot of money and pay off politicians to do X, Y, and Z. So they go, right, I'll donate 10 million naira to your campaign if you remove this regulation.
Yeah.
That also affects it. So what if someone whose business is being threatened by content creators? Like, you have to remember that the traditional media in Nigeria, those guys are losing viewers as well. Like, most people our age watch YouTube and they're on the internet all the time. They're not watching what's it, NTA, or I'm not even sure if that's still around. Like,
African Magic.
Africa Magic, and no one is watching that anymore. Like, people are watching Netflix, right? So if that's the case, then if I was in traditional media and I had contacts in government, I could say, okay, we need to do something about this. Our business is being threatened, so clamp down on that. So they're always, I'm not saying that that's the case. Of course, this is all theoretical, but there are always interest groups. And I see that in every country. So that's why politics is a very funny game, because you never know who's actually ruling over you. You vote for one guy. You don't vote for the people he appoints. He chooses them.
Yeah.
You don't get a vote. He doesn't do a poll. He just chooses who he feels is best. You don't vote for his wife. You don't vote for his kids. All these people have influence. Let me ask you a question. You think
that backed him when he was younger?
Yeah. You think if one of Obama's daughters, right? We don't know what their politics are. Imagine if she calls someone, some business owner or some organization owner, like back when Obama was in power, and he says, "Hello, I'm Obama's daughter, and I want you to do this or this." Do you think he's going to go, yeah, child, you don't have any power? Nah, he's going to listen. He's going to take that seriously, because, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's the president's daughter calling you. So there are lots of people who have power by proxy that we can't control, we don't vote in. So all these things add up to a place where the government will start interfering in things like content creation, where they don't truly understand, because someone has said something. Because there are many people who are threatened by content creation. Like, if content creation blows up in Nigeria, traditional media is dead, because they can't compete. See, in America, at least they can compete. They have, like, industry standard, studios and production quality, and they've got budget. I can't see them competing in Nigeria, man. Like, dude, how is NTA going to compete with Netflix? How's African Magic or DSTV going to compete with Netflix?
They're not even close. They're not even close. They're not even close.
They don't even have the budget. Like, to buy all the licenses to the Marvel movies alone can bankrupt some of these companies.
Yeah. Okay. So now, case in point now. One of the points people bring about is, okay, see people like Naira Marley. I mean, I'm just gonna give you context because you have probably been in Nigeria for a while. So Naira Marley is one of the guys that I'm not like his biggest fan of his music, but I also don't like hate people with it. I feel like it should be let everybody live kind of thinking, right? So he sings music that obviously, is always morally wrong. Now, do you think government going to clamp down on stuff like that? Say, no, we shouldn't create stuff like that. Do you think it's not for the good? Or do you think, because now you cannot say government should clamp down on music like that and not clamp down on like other aspects of content, because it's still content, one are the same. What do you think?
I think government should focus on crimes and not make things that are moral decisions into crimes when they shouldn't be. What I mean by that is, for example, if there's someone who decides to make child pornography, that's a crime. Yeah. The government can clamp down on that kind of content. I expect that, because that's a crime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If someone decides to make whatever he wants to make, maybe a movie that's dirty or something, that's up to the user to not consume it. The government can now say, well, we're banning this because it hurts our moral values. Because what that then means is that whoever is in power, you're subject to his whims. Because imagine if some super conservative guy comes in power and says, it's morally wrong for women to wear trousers. It's morally wrong for women to how do I put this? To hold hands in public with men. And now there's a 50,000 naira fine on any woman who's caught holding hands with a man in public. What are you going to do then? Because you've given the government that kind of power. The government should not morally govern over the people. They should legally govern over the people. So tell me the law. Let's agree on what crimes are. So, of course, we know what the crimes are. Don't kill people, don't steal, don't do this, don't hurt children, all of that, right? Focus on that. Do that, right? And then I'll take you seriously. But then don't now start coming to tell me why I can't watch on my TV. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what happens when government says, okay, we watch Game of Thrones and we don't like dragons, they're demonic, and they're going to ban that. No, I'm serious. What happens when that's the case? When they're like, the only thing you're allowed to watch is Tom and Jerry. That's how these things happen, right? So you can't let the government overreach in that way, because it's an overreach. They shouldn't be allowed to decide what we'll do, because you never know who's going to be in power tomorrow. Sure, today can be a guy who's reasonable and uses the power wisely. But what happens when it's not? What happens when it's a crazy guy who just comes in power and says, okay, I have this power, let's just delete half of Netflix in Africa and just leave the documentaries about lions and tigers and stuff there for you to be watching. That's how these things get abused, right?
Yeah. Okay. That makes super sense. Is Damisi with us?
I think it keeps dropping off. So,
all right, so guys, welcome back. We took a live break, to show some adverts, and make some money. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, we're not making money yet. So if you want to make money, just come. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Right. I was Damisi, yes. I was asking if you had like any other closing remarks to how much we have people, because Joshua was talking about. I asked him if there was a case of whether people who were not used to creating value, which are mostly politicians or people who work in government, coming to join an organization that is not value based on meritocracy, which also is government again. Yep. Is that or does that affect why they just come up and begin to do ridiculous things like interfere with government content, interfere with any part of the industry without thinking it through? But then Josh talked about how the problem is lobbyists, where you vote for someone and then you get different baggage. So I was asking if you had any other comments as regards to that.
Well, as regards to government interfering with content creation, I feel like it's also in terms of ego. Because Josh actually talked about this earlier, that you have content creators online saying, "Oh, they're richer than this politician," or they're just balling and stuff like that. And politicians who think, okay, they have money also, but then this guy, I don't live this kind of life. Why is this guy living this kind of life?
Boom.
And I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be in charge. And then they
Yeah.
just decide, okay, nah, I'm gonna spoil this guy's day just
Essentially.
because. You get. And then the thing is, obviously, you don't have any power. You don't have any power against these guys. It's government. But like, if you have, for example, now you have Google being in charge of this thing, you know that they're trying to make these decisions based on profit. But government decisions are not really based on profit. They're based on the individual that is doing it. Because whether you like it or not, he's getting the salary, and then he's moving on with his life, or trying
Yep.
to, when it's time to recampaign, then he starts to do good things. But during all those periods, he does whatever he wants. But
Yep.
Google, it's or companies, Apple, whatever. That's their timeline. That's how they live. They think about profits. So yeah, having government in charge may not be
Yeah.
the best. But I think
Okay.
the people should be in charge. The people
And,
should be in
and
charge.
that's the beauty of it is I find that the best governments are the governments who enable the markets to make the decision. In that, if people want something to exist, let it exist. Like I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
I'm sure each and every one of us we either have strong feelings or otherwise about the Kardashians, for example,
Yeah.
and people like that. Because when you look at
Yeah.
Kardashians, essentially they are responsible
Yeah.
for the rise of the Instagram influencer culture. It's because of them.
Yeah.
They created it.
Yeah.
So when you look at
Yeah.
that lifestyle, they are at fault for it. Now, whether you agree with them or hate them or love them, the fact of the matter is the market decided. The users wanted
it's
it.
something
Market wanted
that
it.
I wanted.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
It's something that I
billionaires today
wanted, yeah.
because the
Yeah,
users
yeah.
wanted it.
Okay.
Because that's it. So you have to let that happen.
Okay. So can I ask you a sexy ass question? Would you guys be more comfortable since with the market creators, these are the corporations, would you be more comfortable if they were the ones determining the laws or giving us government? Maybe imagine Amazon being in charge of all things post and mail in the world, or imagine Google being in charge of all things, all things data.
No,
Nope.
man, no.
Why not?
Dude,
Yeah.
that'll create an even worse problem because now you're going to have a government that you can't vote in and you can't vote out. Which means if tomorrow Jeff Bezos decides to go super villain, we're done.
Yeah.
If he goes, okay,
Yeah.
I noticed you bought a book written by someone I don't like on Amazon. You're
Yeah.
banned from
Yeah.
Amazon. Imagine banning
Yeah.
someone from Amazon with what Amazon is today. Like that is
Yeah.
cutting off their arm. Or
Yeah.
imagine if Google says your and your IP and your family's IP, no matter where you are, you're not allowed to use Google or any
Yeah.
of their services. So you can't use YouTube, you can't use Google search, you can't use Chrome, you can't use
Just ban.
Gmail. You're just gone. Like your
Like,
your
imagine
internet
if
experience
somebody
is going
that
to be
powerful can
so
cancel you.
substandard. That is dangerous, man. Like that's why I think we need governments to be separate. We need corporations to be separate because the only people powerful enough to wrestle with government are corporations, and the only people powerful enough to control corporations are the government. So we need both of them fighting it out while the rest of us just live calm lives. That's it. Because if one replaces the other, you have dysfunction. Like you see all these countries where the government just privatizes, nationalizes everything. They run down in like 20 years and then they can't, they starve and they have droughts and like they can't find water. I'm like, what? It's because governments don't have to deliver value. So as long their paycheck is coming, whether or not they work hard or skip work. So you're not getting fired. You're just like showing up, stamping some papers and gisting the entire day. So who cares, right? But corporations, if you don't make money in a day, you're closing your business. So they have to be all about money. So you need both to balance each other because if you have the corporations in charge alone, they're going to get to a point where they realize that it's actually costing them money to support some certain things. Like without governments, why would corporations care about diversity and things like that? Because there's enough market for them not to care about diversity. There's enough market for them not to care about accessibility. It costs, you have to remember that it costs lots of companies real money to make their products accessible. So if they don't have to, and don't forget, there are loads of psychopaths with no conscience. So without you to remove government or regulatory bodies, you're going to have fake drug companies. Some chukwe maker is going to come and say, buy my miracle drug, and just puts God knows what chemicals there and start selling pills. So people tells you one drug is going to cure cancer, malaria, COVID, AIDS, all in one pill. And you have people just eating chalk. And this guy is going to bed like a baby every night. You think he's up at night saying, oh my God, am I killing people with this pill? He doesn't care. Like I still remember back then when we're growing up, when they will have to be recalling Indomie every like 30 days because people were selling fake Indomie. Do you remember? And people were dying from that. It's like you have to remember that there are people that say it's a very complex situation. We can't have one or the other, right?
There was this African president that actually like came up with his own COVID medicine and spread it to schools, and they all went back, but then like the second wave came up and then they just went quiet.
And he kept quiet. He just kept quiet.
Of course.
He just kept quiet. Like he was bawling. He was like, nah, this thing works. Taking it to schools, everything. And the next thing, my guy just kept quiet. Like,
this is what I'm saying. So all these people are soulless, man. Like they my God, it's so sad. They have zero conscience and they know what they're doing. That's the worst part. It's not as if they are not aware. They know I'm doing this entirely for cash. I'm going to bank and then run off. They know. So he gambled. He said, well, if it works, I become a legend. I get a Nobel Prize. If it doesn't, we just shut off the media because I control the newspapers. So win, 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 win. This is why I can't let government near content creation, bro. Because they will turn into propaganda machines. That's it. That's how they roll.
Because even as it is right now, you see government going after journalists and stuff like that. Like they put them in jail. Like the amount of things that happen to these people that are actually fighting for their rights, especially in Africa, like it's insane. Like I heard stories about some female journalists that what they went through. Like they were jailed, not in prison, they were jailed, and then some people broke into the jail, stole them, and they were tortured and amongst other things from jail.
Yep. It's
like that means they were in the police station.
Of course.
Yep.
So and thing you have to understand about it is this isn't anything new. Governments from the beginning of time have always tried to control content creation because content creators, they influence culture. They influence how people think, which means they can influence how people vote. And that's a good point for me to talk about Trump and his election in 2016, I believe it was, when no one saw it coming. Of course, if you were paying attention to social media, you were paying attention to the internet and how things were moving, you knew it was going to landslide her. You knew it was going to handily beat her like it did. But the traditional media and people who were focused on traditional media, they didn't see it coming, right? They were like, oh, is it Trump? That guy's a clown. There's no way. But when he won, they were like, what happened? How did this happen? We can't let this happen again. I'm like, boys, were you guys sleeping the last few months? Like all the pro-Trump content creators on YouTube are insane. Like there are lots of pro-Trump content creators on YouTube with millions of followers. People who are following him on the down low. They don't talk about it at work. They don't talk to him about him in school. But they get home in the evening and they consume content about Trump. They know I'm going to vote for him this election. Governments are beginning to understand that now. See, back then they thought it was only traditional media. So what you'd find is there's no newspaper, there's no no newspaper, no TV station that doesn't have a political bend. So you're going to find liberal TV networks, you're going to find conservative TV networks, you're going to find center. They need to stick to it because if they don't back a political side, they can't survive because the government is going to just deprioritize them. So you've got in the US, you've got Fox News, conservative, you've got CNN, liberal. What that means is every time the government interferes, you lose news because now you've got fake news. Because they don't have to care about whether or not you the people are well informed or well educated. No, all they care about is you've been manipulated into voting how they tell you to vote. That's it.
I think also about that, I'm going to mention when the genocide in Rwanda happened, I think 1990, I can't remember, 91 or 95, I can't remember the time. It was true all propaganda that was put through the particular radio that was bought, and then pushed through, incentivized through people at the majority part of the government. You get to, letting them know that these particular people are evil, you should go out and kill them, and so don't troll all that. Okay. So, but on that, I think I'd like us to sign out, we've come to like the end of today's episode, so we'll sign out. And I don't know if you guys like have any like last words for our viewers out there,
Yep.
If you guys have any last words for viewers out there.
Don't trust government, and most especially do not trust Google.
I knew exactly what Josh was going to say.
Yeah,
I knew exactly what Josh was going to say.
Can't trust Google, guys. Can't trust.
Damisi, what do you have to say? What do you have to say? What do you have to sign out with?
And don't trust anybody.
Yeah, I think I'll sign out with don't trust China. Don't trust China. China necessarily is the worst. That kind of, don't trust China. So I don't know why. Yeah.
Okay then.
So don't trust China. So anyway, so I think we'll sign out now, guys. This is beautiful. We'll see you guys in the next episode of our podcast. Cheers.
All right, guys. Take care.
Yeah.
And hey, don't forget to smash the like button.
Yeah.
Destroy the subscribe button. And hit that notification bell so you know when we post a video and you can consume that ASAP. So thanks for the support.
Your boy, Big Daddy Bears, pick me up.
And you can ignore the Google boy, the Google shit. He's a spy, paid off Google employee in disguise.
Thank God we have the YouTube.
Come on, Byron, let's do this. Let's get this final